Hi, this is Dr. Stephanie Wautier, and I'm the host of Conversations with a Chiropractor. I believe healing often begins with connection, and that's really what this podcast is about. These are real conversations about health, healing, life, and the stories that shape us. Some guests come from the wellness world, some come from the community, and some simply bring a life experience worth sharing. My hope is that each conversation invites you to listen, learn, reflect, and maybe see your own life or healing in a new way. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy this conversation with a chiropractor.
This guy was telling me about frequencies, and I thought he was nuts. So I started digging in. Okay, what is a frequency? That sounds like a weird word. I've heard of it before, but what is it? And oh my gosh, you realize that frequencies are everywhere. Color is a frequency. Light is a frequency.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, now I understand frequencies are everywhere, and God created all of it. So then it didn't scare me as much. I'm like, okay, so frequencies aren't strange, but how would they work with the human body? And then I started researching the human body. The human body is so fascinating. Even our cells interact with each other via vibration, and they give off, guess what? A frequency. And so frequencies can both impact our body, and our bodies can give off a frequency. And so, learning that during the research, then I'm like, okay, so maybe this guy's not crazy. I said, let's understand what he's doing.
Hi, this is Dr. Stephanie Wautier, and I'm the host of Conversations with a Chiropractor. I believe healing often begins with connection, and that's really what this podcast is about. These are real conversations about health, healing, life, and the stories that shape us. Some guests come from the wellness world, some come from the community, and some simply bring a life experience worth sharing. My hope is that each conversation invites you to listen, learn, reflect, and maybe see your own life or healing in a new way. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy this conversation with a chiropractor. On today's episode of Conversations with a Chiropractor, I am joined by Rob Rene. Rob is a faith-based AI wellness futurist, author, and founder who has survived 4 near-death experiences, and God brought him back. After a 25-year career in enterprise technology, a stage 3 malignant melanoma diagnosis, Rob has discovered the intersection of ancient biblical wisdom and modern science that would save his life. He is the author of Light Code, the 4-pillar system for total body healing. He's the host of a biohacking podcast, and he is the publisher of The God Algorithm. Rob, thanks for being a guest.
I am so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. You know what's really crazy? I've had a few guests who had one near-death experience, and I can't fathom that you had 4. You must really, really be needed here on this earth right now for God to bring you back 4 times.
Literally, that's this, especially after this last one that I had, it was just like, okay, I'm literally on my knees saying, okay, Lord, I get it. You have plans for me here, because I literally should have gotten my upgrade many times now, and I haven't. So it's like, man, I just feel so obligated to do what He wants me to do, because that's like, I literally should not be here. So He definitely has plans for me, and I literally have succumbed to that. And it's like, I don't really, care about anything else other than doing His will, which is, I can't obviously say that, in any other way other than it's like, I really believe that now. And it's just so crazy because, even a year ago, I wouldn't have told you that. So it's pretty crazy, but I'm excited to be here, and I'm blessed to be here. And man, I have an obligation and desire to help people. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So part of what your mission is and what you want to really bring to this earth is something called the Light Code system. Is that one of the things that you've used to heal yourself, or that God has used to heal you?
Yeah, it's just it's been crazy. This whole ever since maybe 6 years ago when I call it the second truck that hit me in my life. When I was a young youth, I got hit by a 4x4 truck while I was out
Mm,
running, and I was a runner, and that like almost that was one of my near death experiences. I almost died that particular day. But
mm,
then I call the second truck the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, my life just dramatically changed because of I was in corporate career doing, corporate sales, selling enterprise software. And then boom, my life got changed because I couldn't travel, and I was a traveling salesperson at the time, and so it was the first time in my life had a time to sit back and look what was going on. And during that time, everyone's freaking out about their health and about how do you keep your family safe. And I was doing that. I'm like, how do I keep my family safe during this pretty scary time? And the more
yeah.
research I did, it was just incredible. The research I came up with is just devastated me. That's why I call it the second truck, because it just like not only did my career change, but I started looking into health care and our health. And I found out early on in the 1900s how our healthcare system was really taken over, and that really frustrated me. Like, how's that happen in the United States of America that we're the land of the free? And right, I just was so devastated when I found out how corrupt things were, and then how much money really controls our world, and
Mhm.
especially our healthcare system. And that really frustrated me. So as I was going through that period, then I've gone through a crazy health journey during that period too. So it's like I've learned so many things during that. I've just dedicated my life to learning about health, and then I've been put through some crazy health journeys, like the melanoma instance,
Yeah.
right? The last year and a half was been definitely the hardest year of my life by far.
Wow.
And I've learned so much through that. So I ended up literally developing the light code system, which is all the things that I've been learning. It's like the Lord is teaching me these specific things. And it's like, and I just sat back. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe that's why he wants me here, is to do that. So I wrote my book called The Light Code. It's called Light Code. It should be out here. It's in editing right now. So I'm super excited to actually get that out into the world. But
That's
then,
very
it's literally,
exciting.
yeah, it's really fun because it's like it talks about the four pillars of health that I've learned is light, frequencies, fuel, and faith.
Subscribe for more. Full episodes released Wednesdays.
I'm thrilled to share a product I trust and my patients love, Lemon Grove Oil. It's created by Dr. Jerry Del Canton, formulated to be absorbed super quickly, meaning neck pain, back pain, and arthritis relief come quickly. It's all natural with no sulfites, no parabens, and it's naturally derived, no preservatives. Something that's so important to us these days. If you want to feel better fast, give it a try. You won't be sorry. Visit lemongroveoil.com and use code Dr. Stephanie for 10% off.
And so, I have a chapter on each one of those particular components, and I go deep, right, into light. Like light therapy is one of the things that really, I learned a lot about, and that's been super important to me. And the first thing is just light in general, right? First thing that God did create was light, and I knew how important the sun was, and that's one of the interesting things that kind of woke me up to the corruption in our healthcare system was vitamin D.
Mm,
The
yeah.
doctor was getting vilified for recommending vitamin D during the COVID area, and
Mm,
I was like, "Well, why would they be vilifying this doctor of, vitamin D?" And I couldn't understand that. But anyway, make a long story short, I did a lot of research on the doctor and on vitamin D, and vitamin D is definitely not a bad thing, and neither was the doctor. I'm like, "Okay, why are they vilifying this guy?" And that's when I started digging into the research and what their motivation was to get him to be quiet. And the more I uncovered, the worse it got. I was like, wow, we really have a system that's motivated to not really help people from a chronic care perspective. It's like they just want
mhm.
to manage symptoms. And then if you get into the healthcare system, you're worth a lot of money to them. So they don't want you to, in my opinion, there's a lot of the way the system is set up. It's not to help you from a chronic care perspective. So anyway, you probably know that a lot more than I do, just being a chiropractor. I love your profession and what you do. I've
Mm,
in my podcast, I interview a lot of folks, I'd love to have you on my podcast because I love to learn from you, and your profession is awesome just because the all the people that I have met in your profession really understand that this is a God-given vessel that God gave us, and you can do so many amazing things, right? And what you
Yeah.
do from the whole perspective is awesome. So anyway, glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we have innate intelligence. We were born
Yeah.
to heal ourselves, and we
Yeah.
just need no interference to that healing. That's the premise of chiropractic. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, and I learned a lot through all my interviews and the incredible practitioners that I have met and worked with, like yourself. It's just it's wow, it's fascinating, and I learned a lot of that through them. And then I just started researching the human body, right, and how it's made up and how can you impact it. And it's like I've gotten an incredible education the last 6 years about that. That's why I'm like, okay, I've learned so much. I got to stop learning and I got to go help people. So
Well, I think that we are our own best experiments, right? Like
yeah,
if we can have a testimony, a testament to something that has worked for us or something that has brought us health or healing, then we have that credibility, right? Because
yeah,
it worked for us. And
that's right.
it's interesting that you had melanoma, which is a skin cancer, and that you're talking about vitamin D, which we
Right.
get from the sun, which is made in our body with exposure to
Yeah.
the sunlight. I mean, this is all very interesting. And the first pillar, well, even the name of your book is light code.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so you talk, is it red light that you think is so powerful or that you've used to help heal yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think light in general, if you can get natural sunlight, right, and especially the first 45 minutes of the day, it's called blue light. You can get out in the sun, and there's no UV rays in that first 45 minutes, just natural. It's beautiful, and it just powers the human body. That's the way God designed it, right? And we were designed not to be indoors all the time under artificial lights. And so
Yes.
if you can get natural light, fantastic. But we don't. And most people
Yeah.
are indoors all the time. And so I have found that red light and near infrared light is just absolutely phenomenal for helping the human body when we're
Mm-hmm.
not getting the natural sunlight that we all should. So yeah, that's been super, super important. And melanoma the more research I've done on it for my melanoma was on the back of my ankle. So it was not sun exposure that caused my skin cancer. So I think that's a really big misnomer is that it's that sun is causing melanoma. It can, and I think that through maybe burning of the skin, it could potentially turn into melanoma. But in my opinion and the research I've done, I don't personally think that melanoma is caused by the sun. So I think it could be if you get burnt and other things like that. But there's a lot of other reasons why you get any type of cancer and why you also get skin cancer. So it's a fascinating discussion, and that whole C word has been amazing education for me. I just thought it was a condition. I never thought I would get it, and of course, when I did get it, I'm like, oh my gosh! I started doing research on how to impact the human body. How can I win this battle? And man, I
Mm-hmm.
dug into the metabolic health and how to starve cancer was one of my first books that I read, and oh my gosh, so enlightening on one cancer in and of itself. There's hundreds of types of cancer, right? And
Yeah.
so there's people like, oh, here's your cure for cancer. It's like, give me a break. There's hundreds of different types. And the reason why I get it, and if you and I both had the same exact type of cancer, the reason we got it is going to be different. And our
Mm-hmm.
bodies are made up differently. And so
Absolutely.
the way we actually have to battle it is going to be different as well. So it
Mm-hmm.
just makes it really complex. And so that's been fascinating for me to learn. It's just like the whole metabolic health of the human body and how God designed this temple so incredibly cool and complex that people we still can't figure out a lot of things about the human body, which fascinates me because we can go to the moon, right? We could do all these
Right.
crazy things, but this human body is so complex, and the whole quantum realm and just frequencies and things like that I've learned a lot about. Is just like stuff I would never have believed, and how powerful your mind is, right? That's like my fourth pillar is the faith pillar, and man, your mind is so incredibly strong that it can physically control your body.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I was like, "Come on, that can't," then I do more research. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's really true. It can." And so
Yeah.
it's been fascinating for me to go down this journey because, I literally was a businessman, right? For decades of my life. I was an athlete when I was young, so I learned a lot about nutrition and health in general. But then I went into the corporate world and I didn't care about my health. I didn't care about, what I ate. I didn't care about a lot of different things. I drank all the time. I just did a lot of bad things to my beautiful temple, which I really regret. But I'm doing a great job of transitioning my body through that. But man, did I learn a lot of lessons through that process. And like you said, it's like we're kind of our own advocates, like in our own testimonies. And
Hmm.
I'm having such a blast now going, "Oh my gosh, I've learned so much. You need to learn this, right? You need to learn how
Yeah.
incredible light therapy is for you." In fact,
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with amazing pastor and his wife who used one of our red light therapy wands. It's just a really small wand and it's got targeted, therapy. And she's like, "Yeah, my neck was just really bothering me, and I'd used your wand on my neck." And she goes, "I was like almost instant relief." She was like, "Couldn't believe it." I was just like, "Yes, it stuff really does work." And that's what I found is it really helped me recover a lot during my journey. And so this is a battle I'm still processing, but I am winning the battle dramatically, which is fun.
That's wonderful. So we're going to kind of maybe move on a little bit from light, and I want to talk about frequencies.
Sounds good.
And for our listeners, with when we talk about frequencies, we're talking about, would you say energy? Would you call frequencies like sound waves, or like how can we describe what a frequency is to our listeners?
Yeah, that was what was fascinating for me is I didn't understand the word, right? I was like, when I was first introduced to this frequency technology, I thought the guy was crazy. I really did. I'm like, "Give me a break." He's like, said he has these little patches, and he said that he could infuse those patches with a frequency. And then I'm like, "Okay, so I put this patch on me, and there's medicine, right? That's gonna be going to the body." He's like, "No, there's no medicine." I'm like, What do you, I don't understand." So during that COVID, period, and when I started doing research, that's the thing I'm so enamored about now is we all need to do our own research, right? You can't believe what I say, you can't believe what you say, Dr. Stephanie, right? It's
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you can't believe what the media says. You gotta
Right.
do your own research, and
Yeah.
so that's what I've finally started doing. It's stuff I
Mhm.
didn't do for a decade. I researched my job and how to be really good at my job and how to be really good at selling enterprise technology. That's what I did, but I didn't have any understanding of the human body or health, and as far as what I have learned, and oh my gosh! So now when I dig in, I love research. So this guy was telling me about frequencies, and I thought he was nuts. So I literally started digging in. I'm like, okay, what is a frequency? That sounds like a weird word. I've heard of it before, but what is it? And oh my gosh, you realize that frequencies are everywhere, right? Color is a frequency, light is a
Yeah.
frequency, sound is a frequency, like you mentioned, and your cell phone uses frequencies, your radio, uses frequencies. Those sudden frequencies all of a sudden didn't become weird. It was like, okay, now I understand frequencies are everywhere and God created all of it. So then it didn't scare me as much. I'm like, okay, so frequencies aren't strange. I said, but how would they work with the human body? And then I
Mhm.
started researching the human body, right? And the human body is so fascinating. Even our cells interact with each other via vibration, and they give off, guess what, a frequency when they vibrate. And so frequencies could both impact our body, and our bodies can give off a frequency.
Mhm.
And so, learning that during the research, then I'm like, okay, so maybe this guy's not crazy. I said, let's understand what he's doing. And so, he gave me some more research, and I found out he's got these little crystalline structures that are on these patches that can be programmed, right? Similar to a computer hard drive that can be programmed, and you can put information on these little crystalline structures, and then when you apply it to your body, it goes into the body's energy field. We all have an energy field, and this frequency gets in our energy field, and it's proven that it connects to the human body within a few seconds. Then it starts helping. And I was just like, wow, that's fascinating. And doing research like on Dr. Emoto's, water experiments that he did. I don't know if you know Dr. Emoto, but
Yes, I
yeah,
do. In
yeah,
fact, I think it was like January 2025. Maybe it was it was January 2025 that I did a solo episode, and I
yeah,
kind of like launched with that water experiment, and then I talked all about self-talk and just I mean, I'm a huge proponent, and I don't want to say Pollyanna positivity, because that's not me. I'm very realistic. I believe in authenticity. I talk about all that all the time.
awesome.
But we Westerners are really kind of told and taught to almost ignore our body. I mean, our body is the vehicle that's going to get us from point A to point B, and we're taught just to be successful and to prove ourselves, and
Right,
push, 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 and no siestas for us in the United States. No month-long vacations in the summer, no year-long maternity leaves for us. Not in the U.S. We got to
right,
keep that
right.
foot on the gas pedal. So to our detriment,
Yeah,
absolutely
amen.
with.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
So frequencies are, yeah, a huge, maybe this is just gonna like initiate a little bit of curiosity, if nothing else, from our listeners to
that's right.
think
Yeah,
about our
just
bodies differently and to look at things.
yeah, and consider it, right? And you start looking at it. And I love to tell people to go research, Dr. Emoto's rice experiment, right? The one that he did. Do you remember that one where he had three jars of rice, and he had one jar he would tell it he loved it, and the other jar he would hate and he'd swear at and get mad at, and the third jar he would totally ignore. And I may have the timing of those, which one he did first, I don't know. But the end of the 30-day period, that one that he loved and cared for, it was still white. It was a little murky because his rice had been in water for 30 days. But the one that he swore at and had angry words towards, it was disgustingly gross and moldy. And then the one he ignored
Mm-hmm.
was almost the same way. And so it literally just shows how the actual words that come out of your mouth and the intentions you have and the vibrations of your thoughts and can literally have a physical impact on an external thing. And if you had asked
Yes.
me that a few years ago, I'd have said you're absolutely bonkers, right? It's like, come on, give me a break. But then the more research I did, it's like it's fascinating. It's like, okay, all right, I'm okay with learning and admitting that that I don't know everything, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
one of the things that I learned was, oh my gosh, frequencies are real, and they
Mm-hmm.
do have a physical and can have a physical impact on the body, and both good and bad. And so, like you hear all the 4G and 5G things and all the EMF blockers, and frequencies can be bad to the human body, but guess what? They can also be good. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
fascinated with how can we utilize good frequencies to help this body, whether it's sound, because there is proof on even sound frequencies, right? The sound bowls and the things that they do, and back in history, they used to have the churches with the big bells, right? And then the
Mm-hmm.
actual organs that they played literally were healing organs. And go research that. That was fascinating when I was doing that to research as well. So frequencies are fun because it is something that most people don't understand, including me, right? I had no clue about any of it. But then the more I researched, it was just like, oh gosh, that's really something fascinating. And this gave me more appreciation for God too. It's like, wow, did he create an incredibly complex temple that, man,
Mm-hmm.
I unfortunately for decades of my life, I just ignored. Like you said, most of us in the US,
Mhm.
was like I was focused on my job, how to raise a family, how do I just drive, 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 drive. It wasn't reflecting, looking at my temple and taking care of it. And so that's probably the reasons why I ended up with some of the health conditions I did, because I just didn't
Mhm.
treat my temple well. And man, I'm having
Mhm.
a blast now because I'm in better shape, at 58 than I was in my mid 40s for sure. Right? It's like I just got done with a 4 mile run with my beautiful wife, and it's just like
Mm.
I couldn't a year ago I couldn't do that. Right? I couldn't even walk a year ago. So it's just exciting to see how you literally, if you do things right, you can transition your body dramatically. So it's fun.
Mhm. That's wonderful. I'm going to ask you a little bit about maybe your journey specifically, but also very, very generally. So, there's such a high percentage of Americans who do have like chronic fatigue or
Hmm.
fatigue in general.
Yep.
And would you say that your book, The Light Code, has a lot of resources on how they can like turn this around? Or where would you have somebody start?
Yeah, that's an awesome question because, yes, for sure. If you look at the third pillar of mine is called fuel, right? And that fuel is related to the supplement that we created because most people nowadays are not getting, our bodies need, excuse me, 96 nutrients in a day. And most of us are not getting those 96 nutrients, including myself. So I have to supplement for those other nutrients. Our just diets don't have the nutrients that it did back in the day, right? And even an apple today is not the same as an apple of yesterday. So you start looking at what your food supply is, and you're not feeding this incredible temple with the nutrients that it needs to do what it does. And that's the fascinating thing that I've learned is God made this body so incredibly cool. Like you mentioned early on, that it's designed to heal, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the way He
Yeah.
built. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but we need to give it the right environment. We need to give it the right nutrients. We need to give it what He designed it. The light, right? We need to give it those things. And so my book is exactly that. The light is externally to help the mitochondria do what it does from the external, from light. But then the fuel, my supplement, is got 7 biblical ingredients in it. It's got organic barley grass and wheatgrass, which are great for the nutrients that most of us are missing. It's got saffron in it, which is really good for mood control and anxiety. It's got aloe, which is great for gut health. There's hundreds of different benefits for aloe. But then you take cumin, frankincense, and myrrh, the other three, and the combination of those really help with inflammation support. So inflammation, as you know, Doc, is the source of a lot of disease. Right? A lot of the
Yeah.
practitioners I meet with are like, inflammation is the source of all disease. And I'm like, whoa, so inflammation is bad. So if we can
Yeah. Yeah.
reduce inflammation, that helps. And our supplement not only does it have those 7 biblical ingredients, it's got a molecular hydrogen blend, which is really cool. When you research what molecular hydrogen does inside the human body, it's fascinating because it acts as a master antioxidant. So it goes and attaches itself to the bad cells, the sentient cells, and the zombie cells in your bloodstream and extracts them. But it helps the good mitochondria do its job better. So it helps the good mitochondria and it gets rid of the bad cells, right? So it's really super good for the body. So the fuel pillar really helps from the inside and the light helps from the outside. Frequencies balance it out, and then you combine the mind body spirit connection of the faith component of my 4 pillars, and that's where your mind comes into play, and your prayers.
Yeah.
So we literally have a prayer guide that goes with every one of our products because we want you to literally declare it out loud with your mouth. The Bible tells us there's power in the tongue, so
Yes.
utilize
Yeah.
that power and then say your prayer, say your intention. And
Mm-hmm.
man, when you do that, the combination is amazing. Your mind will start controlling your body. And hey, if the Lord wants to heal you, He can in a second, right? So you should ask for it. So that's
Right.
a big
Right.
part. So people with chronic fatigue and other things like that, I would give them my book and say, look, research all 4 of those pillars. If you do one of them, it's going to help you. If you do all 4 of them, it's going to exponentially help you. So it's a
Well,
lot of fun.
I've been exposed to different supplements and different supplement companies literally for 25-ish years.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of a supplement that contains these like ancient biblical ingredients. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy. Like I knew saffron is sort of like the brother sister to cardamom because I'm, Norwegian, Swedish, Finnish, and we love our cardamom bread. But
Yes.
saffron is sort of like the cousin to that. But I've literally, and I know turmeric, curcumin, we know those anti-inflammatory properties, but I've never heard of a supplement that's bringing all of this together with frankincense and myrrh and also the molecular hydrogen.
Yeah.
That's
It's
really intriguing. That's
It
really
is really
intriguing.
unique. It really is, and it's a God thing that helped me create that because I was, as part of when I was doing all that research on topics, one of them was the Bible, right? Because
Mm,
I had grown up as a Christian, but I was one of those Christians that would go to church on Sunday, and then I wouldn't think about church until the next Sunday, right? It was just, but I was like, as I was digging in, I was so frustrated with the healthcare system and what's going on, and I was like, what about, I learned a lot of corruption and things. I'm like, well, what about the Bible?
yeah.
Right? Is the Bible
Yeah.
really real?
Yeah.
Right? So I started
Yeah.
doing research on the Bible and I just dug in. And so for years I've been studying the Bible and through that research I'm like, well, what does the Bible tell us about health? Right? So I started researching all the ingredients in the Bible and it's fascinating. There's dozens of them in the Bible, but the God is so good. He literally led me to a practitioner in California who was working on the molecular hydrogen component. And he had the molecular hydrogen component, and I was researching all these biblical ingredients, and he and I met, and he's like, "Hey, why don't we combine them together?" And we took the 7 best biblical ingredients that supplement and augment what molecular hydrogen does. So they amplify each other. So all the things that those 7 biblical herbs do, the molecular hydrogen actually amplifies them and makes them even more effective. And those 7 ingredients amplify what the molecular hydrogen does. So it's literally
Wow.
the most incredible supplement. I actually take 8 capsules a day because of my health issue that I'm winning, but our normal dose is 2 capsules a day. But it's so good for your health that my practitioner prescribed back to me my
Hmm.
own supplement. It's like you need to be taking 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, right? So it says it's so good for and oxygenating the
Hmm.
the body. So anyway, it's a fascinating product.
That is fascinating. And, molecular hydrogen has sort of, I think, that one, element or product alone has gained a lot of press, with the
Yes.
hydrogen water.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's very interesting. And
Yeah,
again, yeah, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say what's really unique about the molecular hydrogen component, which is different with ours, is ours is in a capsule, right? So
Hmm.
you put the capsule and what your actual stomach creates the hydrogen, which is fascinating because those other ones, the water bottle, and even the tablets you put in water, you have to wait for the system to create the hydrogen, and then you need to drink it right away because it starts dissipating as soon as it creates it, and so
Hmm.
the cool thing about ours is you put the capsule in the body and your body creates the hydrogen, so then your body assimilates it. So it's much more effective in my humble opinion, than those other ways. But it is cool that it has gotten a lot of press because then people like look at our product and like, oh, wow, that's got hydrogen, molecular hydrogen. How does it do that? Right. And that's
Yeah.
interesting. So yeah, that's pretty fun. Even when Joe Rogan talks about it, that the world's gonna start understanding the product, right?
Oh my gosh. I was just talking to one of my patients today about the Joe Rogan podcast, and I was like, he brings so much of this alternative medicine stuff to the mainstream. He's like top
Yeah.
3 podcasts in the whole US. And,
Amen.
one of the things I want to ask you specifically, Rob, is why do you think that information is sort of being kept from us publicly? Or why do you think that this even has to be called like alternative, right?
No. Yeah. And even what's really intriguing is the research that I did do. So this you can go read yourself and listen and understand how evil things have become. Like all doctors and practitioners and nurses, they're not bad. But the system itself and what happened to it back in the 1900s is really bad, in my humble opinion. If you go back and look at it, the Rockefellers hired this gentleman called, his last name was Flexner, and they created the report. It's called the Flexner Report. And that report they really used for nefarious reasons. They literally took over our medical schools, and you couldn't get into a medical school unless you couldn't get a job. You couldn't get a job as a doctor unless you went to their medical schools, and their medical schools only taught pharmaceutical-based medicine. And then they vilified, and this is a key point in answer to your question, was they vilify all natural health practitioners. That's where the term quack came from. You've heard the term quack, right, before, especially as a
Oh, yeah.
chiropractor, of course you have, right?
There are websites that are like basically out there to nullify the chiropractic profession. And I've talked about this on other podcasts. The AMA, the ACA, decades long lawsuit, just, like snake
It's
oil
really
salesman.
bad.
I mean,
Yes, the
yeah.
snake oil thing, and that's where it came from, was back in the early 1900s. They invented that term quack to vilify all the people who were doing things naturally. And back then in the 1900s, it was like 50% of the practitioners, people helping people, were holistic. And 50% were not. And now look at it. It's like 0.1% are people
Yeah.
like yourself, right? That are helping people naturally and holistically compared to all the other doctors. So the reason why I mention that is I believe it's literally a systematic thing where they did that because of money. They could patent those drugs, and then all the medical schools only taught. They didn't teach any natural stuff. They didn't teach nutrition. They didn't teach any of the chiropractic components and other modalities. They only taught the pharmaceutical way. And that's what was in all the medical schools. And you couldn't get a job as a doctor unless you went to their medical schools. So it literally is a systematic thing that if you look at what that transitioned to today, it's really scary. Like there's 6 companies in the globe that own most of the communication systems in the world, not in the United States, in the world. And then there's things like Operation Mockingbird, or Project Mockingbird. When I learned more about that really frustrated me. It was, the CIA was actually implemented and installed into all of those communication companies. And at 4 a.m., they would give them their talking points. And the talking points would be on a particular topic. And you would hear it on the radio in the morning. You'd hear it in the news in the afternoon. And you'd read it in the paper. And you assume that that's true because you heard it 3 or 4 different ways by different people at a little bit different angle. And you just assume it's true because they're really, really good at creating a narrative. So that's why it's like go do your own research, right? Don't believe me. Just go do your own research and tell me I'm a liar. That's fine. Go ahead. But it is really sad that has happened because my gosh, now I love the whole MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, because a lot of those things are finally coming to light, right? Seed oils are coming to light. Just our upside down pyramid finally got fixed, right? Our food pyramid and the bad things in even sugar, right? Sugar is literally a poison when you look at, and sugar is in everything. It's just
Everything.
It's fascinating. So anyway,
that
is a really long answer to your question. Sorry about that.
No, it's actually a very, very great reinforcement because probably about a month ago, I interviewed Dr. Henry Ely and the Energetic Health Institute, and he talked a little bit about this. And I'll be totally honest, even as an alternative healthcare provider, that's what I feel like I'm in that category. I'd never heard about the Flexner report. I'd never heard about the Rockefellers. I was actually a nurse first. That was, I went to Michigan State. I got my BSN. Like I worked in the medical world. And yes, it was drugs and surgery. And that's, what we did. And so this was completely a foreign concept. So now that I'm hearing it again, and now that maybe my listeners, some of my loyal listeners are hearing this again, we're just having a conversation. Everybody has the autonomy to go and look at this themselves and make their own opinion, but it's an exposure that like I wasn't exposed to. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
appreciating having my mind and, brain expanded to different things.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
here's kind of a touchy topic. Even in your main title of your bio, you call yourself an AI wellness futurist.
Yes. Yes.
Unpack that for us
I
because
love it.
this was
I love AI. So that, wow. Imagine that. Here I am talking about alternative health and the corruption of a lot of things, but AI can be used for good. And that's what I'm so excited about is AI can be very, very bad, right? It can be used for very bad purposes. A lot of garbage in, garbage out, right? You put a lot of garbage into something and then you ask it, it's going to give you back garbage. And
Mhm,
unfortunately, that as a lot of the science is wrong, or at least it's been bought and paid for. A lot of the science information in those tools, and people have used those tools for bad. But what I've
mhm,
decided to do is say, hey, what can I do, and how can I use AI for good? And I believe that you can utilize AI for good if you give it good information. So if you give it good context, you give it good research, you give it the good data, and then it's so smart, it can analyze large volumes of information in such a short period of time that I've created these little bots that do really fun things, like a peptide bot, for example. It's like you can go and say, okay, I have this issue, what peptides would help me with this particular issue, and then not only could they potentially help me, but how do I use it, right? What's the dosage of it, and just things like that are pretty complex things to figure out, and to be able to have all this information sent into it and then do analysis on it. I think the future of medicine is going to be incredibly advanced because of AI. We're going to be
mm,
able to put in our blood work. We're going to be able to put in our genetics. We're going to be able to put in our history of things that we have happened to us and that we've done to our bodies, like all the things that I did to my body. And then it's going to be able to analyze all of that and give you personalized recommendations on the things that you should be able to do to help you advance your temple. And so
mm,
that's what I want. That's what I'm fascinated with, is I want to use the good parts of AI to help advance the personalization of health for people. And I
mm.
believe that we can do that.
That's a really, really interesting perspective. And you've brought this up a few times, but we are all very, very individual. We have
Hmm.
very different genetics, genetic makeups, different triggers, different, traumas, like things that
Diets,
we've
right? Yeah.
diet,
Yep.
exposure,
Right.
like if someone works, I've had different patients. Like I had a patient who worked in a bread bakery. Well, all of the like literally like wheat and toxin and things that, he would be breathing in and the high heat he was exposed to, or people who work in an underground mine, or
Right.
I mean,
Right.
we all have different exposures and we all have different, we talk about, even like my kids are very in tune with like what agrees with them and what doesn't,
Good.
like, like we
I
could go,
wasn't. I had no clue, right? I just ate whatever I wanted. I drank whatever I wanted. I didn't even think about it, right? And then
Mhm.
boom, life hits you in the face, and you start learning. It's like, oh my gosh, I just treated this temple so poorly for a really long time. And I think everybody, you get, especially like you mentioned in America, it's like drive, 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 do, do,
Yeah,
do, 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 and you're just like this, right? You're just not even thinking about what we're doing to this and we only have one of these, right? This is,
yeah,
we have one of our temple on earth, and so it's like we should take care of it. And I
yeah,
think that's why I'm here, is to try to, maybe I was here for one person today, right? That's listening to
yeah.
this, is it says, maybe I haven't done what I should be doing, and maybe I should do X. And if I can just help one person, I feel that I've accomplished my mission for today. So praying that
Absolutely,
that
Rob.
does help somebody.
And you know what I think you also bring is that you bring an element of hope, because
Yeah.
you did work in corporate America. You did, like you said, you were not taking care of yourself. And yes, you had cancer, but you
Yep.
ran 4 miles today, and you've been able to, I don't know if biohacking is the right word. you've been able to figure out what your body needs and to
Yeah.
feed it that fuel and or frequencies and or the light and or the the declarations that you're making when you're speaking with your voice and you're speaking God's
Yeah.
word over yourself. So
That's
I
right.
think if nothing else, what people can take from this is that there's hope,
That's
that
right.
you know what I mean, like you had 4 near death experiences but you didn't die. You're here
That's
on
right.
earth. You have a mission. God has kept you here to share this. So whether we've sparked someone's curiosity, whether we've sparked anger in someone, whether we've
Yeah.
sparked
I'm sure we have.
whatever.
I'm sure it made somebody mad. I apologize. I don't mean to make anybody mad.
I
If
mean,
you're in the
I just,
healthcare profession, I love you, right? So I
yes,
understand that it's not your fault, but yeah,
yes. But I think that we have to get this conversation going. And,
yeah,
I think in my intro, it says, healing begins with connection because we can't do this alone. We're not here just solitarily on a desert island. We need exposure to other people who have lived through things, and we need information that we don't have at our own fingertips or a way to get that information.
right.
And
Because a lot of it has been censored. Really, it literally has, right? A lot of the information that we want to get out there is censored in a very, very large way. There's a lot of censorship that happened during the COVID arena, right? All the big tech firms, they really censored a lot of people. But when you sit back and look at that, censorship around all natural health has been going on for a very, very long time. And it's really important to understand because the things that did get attention, was mainly because there was a lot of money behind it. And when you look at the
yeah,
power of big pharma, it's incredible how powerful they are. You look at what happens in our political environment. Our political environment is run by lobbyists. And if you start researching lobbyists and how much money the pharmaceutical industry puts into lobbyists and how much the lobbyists control what happens in our country, it's just like it's devastating when you really realize it.
yeah.
So anyway, I just say all of that to say that there is hope, right? There are things that are changing. There are people that really want to do the good things for us and our human body, and the whole Maha movement. I'm so excited about it because they're making changes, and it's a difficult change, but they are making changes, right? So I'm super excited about what they're doing, and I believe that I was put here to help people understand the light code, right? Understand how important light is to your body and frequencies, level your body out, and then fuel gives you the energy that you need from the inside, and then the whole faith component, the mind, body, spirit thing, just underlies it all and amplifies everything. So man, if I can get that message out and I can help one person, and like you said, I love the way you said that, is hope. If you have breath in your lungs today, God has a plan for your life. Think about that. If you have breath in your lungs today, God has a plan for your life. So if you have breath in your lungs today, guess what? Start being positive about that and thinking, what can I do to make a difference in the world? And man, it's really infatuating that when you start looking at life that way, it's like, oh my gosh, he does have a plan for me. Maybe you didn't ever feel that, but if you have breath in your lungs, just have hope. There is hope. You can get better. You can get well, right? And you can make a difference to other people in the world. And man, just think if we all did that, how incredibly awesome our world would become. So let's all work on that ourselves.
Amen. Absolutely, Rob. I love that. That's like the best call to action I think I've ever heard from any of my guests.
I appreciate that.
So thank you.
Yeah.
If you have breath in your lungs, there's a purpose for you being on this earth. And Rob, if anybody listening wants to find out more information, can you please give us your website or where to find you on like social media?
You bet. So ExodusStrong.com is my business. That's where the light code system is. I have all of our red light therapy products. We have incredible red light products. We have frequency products. We have the Exodus supplement. That's where you can find me. Now I'm just starting to build Biohackingville. Biohackingville.com is an environment where I really want to put all this research that I'm learning and doing, and just really good, healthful information into a repository that isn't censored, right? So it's something that I own, that I can put into this repository that I can give access to people to that repository. So that's an active community, biohackingville.com, that you can find me in. So, and my book, when it comes out, will be called the Light Code book that will be out there, and it'll be out in a few weeks. So I'm excited about that.
Wow, this is so wonderful. Well, it has been such a beautiful pleasure to have you on this show, and I'm sure that there's more than one person listening today who does have a renewed hope, because it's never too late, right? Yeah.
Right.
If you have breath in your lungs, there's a purpose for you, and there's hope for healing.
There is hope.
You're proof. You're proof positive.
Amen.
Thanks so much for being on this show today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's really super pleasure, and I love you and I love what you do. So thank you for keeping, spreading the positive vibes and the positive, information. I think it's just really important that those information gets out. So thank you for letting me be here. I really appreciate you.
It's my pleasure, Rob. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, would you please rate it, review it, like, or subscribe? You can find me on social media at wautierwellness.com, Dr. Stephanie Wautier on Instagram, or Wautier Wellness Chiropractic and Massage on Facebook. And I'm so curious where your next conversation will take you. This episode of Conversations with a Chiropractor is supported by Lemon Grove Oil. One of the things I'm always paying attention to, both in this podcast and in my work, is where something comes from. Not just what a product says it does, but who created it, why they created it, and whether there is real care behind it. That is one of the reasons Lemon Grove Oil feels like such a natural fit here. Lemon Grove was founded by chiropractor Dr. Jerry Del Canton. This is not a random wellness brand that appeared overnight because CBD became popular. It grew out of the chiropractic world, where trust matters, where quality matters, and where people are often looking for thoughtful ways to support themselves between visits, during their busy seasons of life, and in the day-to-day routines that shape how they feel. Lemon Grove offers professional-grade CBD products, including topical lotions, butters, roll-ons, and gummies. They focus on quality, transparency, THC-free formulations with third-party testing, and products designed with healthcare providers in mind. I think that matters because when you are choosing something for yourself or your family, you want more than nice packaging. You want to know there is a real philosophy behind it. If you're curious about Lemon Grove Oil, visit their website at www.lemongroveoil.com.
Visit the link in the description and use code DRStephanie at checkout to save 10% on your next order. This offer is exclusive to listeners of Conversations with a Chiropractor.